Welcome to Arsenal Kids Podcast.
Hello and welcome to Arsenal Kids Podcast. My name is Madi and I'm joined by my co-host Ben. And it is great to have you join us for this episode.
Yes, hello listeners and welcome to episode number 122.
Thanks Ben. And what are we talking about in Arsenal Kids Podcast this time?
Well, Maddie, in part one, let's catch up on all the news that has happened since we've done our men's and women's team season reviews over the last couple of episodes. We'll start with news surrounding our women's team first here in part one.
And then in part two,
we're going to round up our men's team news, including some news from our junior players.
Sounds like a good plan.
Yes, I love it when a plan comes together. But a reminder to you to help us to continue to grow our Arsenal Kids community. You can do that through liking, reviewing and sharing our podcast with others or by following us on social media.
We would love for you to join us on this adventure together.
We would indeed. And Maddie, do you want to start with the good news or the bad news?
Let's get the bad news out of the way.
Well, okay then. Well, Maddie and listeners, the bad news is that we can confirm that women's team Dutch international Victoria Pelova has suffered a ruptured ACL, that is, anterior cruciate ligament, while playing for the Netherlands against Finland in early June. Victoria was substituted after her knee extended in the 12th minute of that UEFA Women's Championship qualifier, which was played in Finland, and subsequently Vic underwent testing to determine the extent of the injury, and she will now undergo surgery and will be sidelined for an extended period.
That is terrible news, Ben.
It is terrible indeed. But let's continue to support Victoria through her recovery and hope that she can return to action again before the end of next season.
Okay, now let's get back to some better news. And one of our women players has signed on at the club.
Yes, some better news. We're delighted to announce that Laura Weinroither has signed a new contract with the Gunners. The 25-year-old Austrian international defender has made 47 appearances for us and scored 1 goal since she joined us in January of 2022. Unfortunately, her own anterior cruciate ligament injury that she sustained in our UEFA Champions League semi-final against Wolfsburg at the tail end of 22-23 season ruled her out for pretty much all of the season just been. But she did make a successful return to the team in our 5-0 win over Bristol City in early April. This came after she'd made 30 appearances for us in the previous season. During her time so far in North London, Laura has helped the squad to win 2 FA Women's Conti Cups, and she says it is such an incredible feeling for her to put pen to paper once again for the Arsenal. She's so happy to remain at the club and to have the opportunity to continue playing for a football team that she considers home. Being back on the pitch with her teammates is a feeling she says she can't describe, and she can't wait for the next season to get started.
Nor can we. Let's hope she comes back stronger.
I think she will, as she brings real quality to the team in the fullback position, and her work rate and team spirit are just as important. She's worked real hard on her return to competition following injury, and we look forward to seeing her back to her best.
And she will be joining the women's team on the first ever pre-season tour of the USA.
I would imagine so, as the women's team head to the USA following a successful trip to Australia, where we got to see the girls in Melbourne, which rounded off last season. The team are heading to Washington, D.C. from August 15 to 26, where 2 friendly matches are taking place. The first will be against National Women's Soccer League side Washington Spirit, and then another will be against fellow Women's Super League team Chelsea. It's going to be following the men's team tour across LA and Philadelphia in late July, and it is so great that official hotel partner Hotels.com are going to be supporting the women's tour on this occasion. Sporting director Edu said that Arsenal always want to create the best conditions for the teams to prepare and perform at their best in pre-season, and this gives the players an opportunity to play and train in a new environment in front of Arsenal supporters around the world.
It has been great to see how interest and the love for the Arsenal women stretches far and wide.
Yeah, and good on the team for building on that and bringing the international supporters closer to the club.
And lastly, Bethany has been named in the Independent's Pride list.
She has, and for the second year in a row. Published on June 1 to mark the beginning of Pride Month, the list recognises change makers in the UK. As a visible ambassador for the community, Beth has been honoured again this year for her work and influence, notably raising awareness about ACL injuries in the club's original documentary, Step by Step. After topping the list last year, Beth was ranked 12th this time around.
Okay, well let's leave it there for part 1 and we will be right back after this with part number 2. Welcome back, and Ben, let's talk about men's team players leaving.
Okay, Maddie, well let's start with some more bad news, shall we? Well, there was a large list of names of academy players that are going to be out of contract on June 30, and Arsenal has taken time to thank those players leaving us at the end of this month. We've already gone over the women's players who are leaving in previous episodes, but this is a chance to say goodbye to Mohamed Elneny and Cedric Suarez from the men's first team, who we thank for their contributions to the club. And you can find more about Cedric in episode number 90 when we did a profile piece on him. And Elneny we also profiled in episode 65.
Any big name academy players leaving, Ben?
Well, a few we've mentioned along the way as we've covered their progress on loan, but I think the big one is probably, and I'm yet to start watching this season to know if he will be featured, but I can't see why he wouldn't be, and that is Arthur Okonkwo, who was on loan at Wrexham as goalkeeper last campaign. The club have also said they're working through some discussions with Mario Cozier-Dubry, Carl Hind and Ruel Walters, and so we await to see if they will stay or go depending on how those talks fare. But in total, we're going to have 22 players who will be departing Arsenal at the end of their contracts this season.
Talking of academy players, and they are starting the season with 6 friendly games.
Yes, they are, both at home and abroad during the summer, as they warm up for Premier League 2 action, aiming to improve on their 5th place finish last term. They start at home for a game at Boreham Wood FC before a trip to Enfield Town, who have been recently promoted to the National League South. They then go on a trip to Slovakia to face Rapid Vienna in late July before returning to England for a fixture with 7th tier Bishop Stopford. The last 2 matches are against Lincoln City from mid-table in League One, and finally with a behind closed-door game against Stoke City, under 21s, that will round out their pre-season. A lot of action to take place for the young academy team.
And it will be with our coach who has some new qualifications.
Yes, another great segue, Maddie. You're doing well. Our under-21s head coach, Mehmet Ali, officially passed his UEFA Pro licence at the start of this month, having taken on the role ahead of the 22-23 season. Last time around, as he mentioned, he led the young Gunners to a 5th place finish. The UEFA Pro licence that he's now completed is a course that develops highly skilled leaders, managers and coaches capable of creating sustained success. It's the highest professional game coaching course. It normally takes around 18 months to complete, and Mehmet was awarded with his pro licence at the National Football Museum in Manchester.
Great work. And finally, Ben, this is our last episode of the season.
Yes, Maddie, it is. We're headed to Japan for 3 weeks for a holiday, and so we're going to be taking a break, but when we get back, we're going to be straight back into it, catching up on all the news, covering pre-season friendlies, and if we get any signings, you know that we'll let you know about them. So we're taking a short break, but we will be back.
Okay, well, let's wrap it up for this episode. Thanks again for joining us on Arsenal Kids Podcast. And don't forget, please don't leave.
Before we sign off, we want to express our gratitude to you for your continued support, especially across the whole course of this season. If you haven't already, follow, like and subscribe so you don't miss us in the future when we get back to it in a few weeks. But remember, it's your love for the beautiful game that fuels our passion.
And we would love for you to spread the word about Arsenal Kids podcast.
Yes, please share our podcast with any other Arsenal kids that you know and help us to grow this amazing community together.
We hope to join you back in the pitch again soon.
Keep the spirit of the game alive, and until next time.
Goodbye.